Welcome everyone. This is Workflow Secrets Demo Day Live 2025. My name's Cody. I'm one of the co-founders over here in Workflow Secrets. I do a lot of the promos, so maybe you saw me on the video. And Mark?
Yeah, my name is Mark Stepp. For those that don't know me, I've spent the last 35 years in real estate technology, everything from CRM, workflows, just trying to help with workflow automation in several different ways, and have started and co-started a couple other real estate related CRMs, and just really excited about what we've got to show you so far in Systems Accelerator Manager.
Absolutely. So, kind of getting started, today's goals, what we're going to walk through, we're going to show you guys how to automate your daily routines, and what exactly that means, how to focus in on key moments to do that. And ultimately, Mark and I like to teach on this concept of a world-class client experience. We just kind of believe that's the best way to go about running a real estate business to help generate the easiest pipeline that you can. That's your repeat and referral business. But the ultimate goal of today is hopefully you guys will walk away with a, oh, that's how I'll use it moment. And if we can do that, I'll feel like we did a really bang up job of that. But all of this kind of got started when OpenAI released ChatGPT back in November 2021. Before that, Mark and I have spent our entire career in real estate technology, him a little bit longer than I have. But as you are listening to all of the real estate agents who are successful in their field speak about what they are doing that is working out so successfully for them, they often stick on this one single concept, and it's systems. And they use automated tools to apply these systems into their business. Well, on the other side of the coin, you have the agents that are struggling, and oftentimes they are struggling with two things. Either A, they just simply do not have enough time in their life to get it all done, or B, they either A, don't have a piece of technology that can do that for them, or maybe they don't actually know how to use that technology. So time and technology. Well, when OpenAI launched, Mark and I, we were pretty excited about this idea, and we started using it in our own life. And several months later, we actually started coaching agents how to apply this to solve for finding some more time, creating resources that they could use in their business, to remove the need to spend hours oftentimes writing content. When we were coaching, I experienced what I'm going to call a glazed eye moment. And it's where these agents come to these events, they're super excited, and then they walk away, and I get just a slew of emails saying, what do I do? I'm not sure how to go about this. And so I realized at that moment I could go the route of most people and just create prompt libraries, and
you see them everywhere,
and sell them to agents, and that would be the name of the game. But I kind of dug into my roots as a technologist and an entrepreneur, and I said there has to be a better way. And that was where the birth of the Systems Accelerator Manager came from. So initially it came out as a content creation tool, and it allowed real estate agents to actually use this piece of technology. They didn't have to learn how to communicate with or engage with the AI systems, writing these prompts. And it was really cool. But I one day woke up, and I'd actually had kind of a weird dream. I'm sure it's probably a dream you've never had, but I had this dream that 1,000 leads would come into my business, and it would just absolutely destroy my business. You might be saying, 1,000 leads, that sounds awesome, right? But at that time, I was manually scheduling 14 emails for every single person who came into my business. So had I had 1,000 leads come in, I probably would have been spooked awake and shocked about it. But then I probably would have called all my siblings, all my friends, and my parents crying, and we would have had to start scheduling emails. Well, that's not a really great experience, and I'm sure I probably wouldn't have got any of them to turn into customers. So I realized, oh shoot, I need to dig back into my other pocket and lean into my CRM experience, customer relationship management system experience. And so that is where I started retooling SAM, the Systems Accelerator Manager, into a new CRM. But fast forward to the end of the summer 2024, Mark, you actually were able to come back onto the team, and I was able to dig into your experience as a real estate technologist and a computer programmer for the last 35 years, and gave you a mandate. I said, go build your dream system. So that's what the Systems Accelerator Manager 2.0 is. It's a modern real estate CRM using AI, and truly it has become what we believe is the evolution of the CRM. Got that from a friend that I was presenting to in the technology industry in St. Louis, and I absolutely stole it. So that is kind of our history.
Yeah, the things that we have taught on, or I have anyway, for the past several years, is the whole idea of what I call the core strategies: conversions, operations, retention, and experiences. And Cody was experiencing that same thing. What would he do if 1,000 people came in during the conversion process? How would he deal with his operations whenever those people start purchasing and doing things with them, and retaining your customers? How do you retain them over time? And it's no different in his business versus the real estate business. And the bigger thing is we want to give the experience. So you got C.O.R.E, the core strategies, and those experiences are what builds the relationships, builds the referrals, builds the repeat business that everybody wants in their business. So, building my dream system as his mandate was like, okay, now I can really get in there and do the things that I want to. And I'm not bound by engineers that were limiting me and stuff. So I have a big engineering background. I mean, I've coded all my life. And since 10th grade, whenever I wrote my own Pac-Man game on a Commodore 32, PET 32, which was didn't have hardly any memory, but it was fun. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And a few years ago, I got the pleasure of meeting one of the top agents in the area. We started talking about her business and exactly what it meant to her to do this business, the freedom and all these things that she wanted as part of the real estate business. But those same ideas are what took away some of her freedom. And she was just constantly busy doing things just in a non-systematic way. And so 30 plus years ago is when we really started the whole idea of the automations and stuff. That technology 30 years ago was cutting edge at the time. But as time goes by, there's just a lot of things that software over time gets old. And a lot of the things that hold you back are because of old technology. And what was really nice was being able to start from scratch, be able to build it from the very beginning. So
that's right. And I like to think that, there are several things that are holding you back from being successful. But I like to bring up, here's things that you don't need to be successful. Well, first off, you don't have to be Mark. You don't need that bachelor's in computer science. You don't need an MBA. And you also don't need a big technology budget that is going to require lots of little small subscriptions to build out one single system that's going to actually work for you. And unfortunately, that's something that our industry is just fraught with, is these old outdated systems. We call them legacy CRMs that are going to try and sell you a marketing tool and a sales tool and a database and an automations tool. And then all of a sudden you have 20 tools. You need a team of people to help you manage them, or you just simply don't know how to use it. That's the trap that agents fall into. That's exactly what we're going to be working to address today. So that is a little bit of our background, and hopefully we've got you a little bit convinced. But Mark, I would love for you to kind of bring us into the system. We've belabored enough. Let's go ahead and show everyone what we've got.
Okay, since this is demo day, we're going to do demos. So what I want to do, number one, is preface all of this to say, there's a couple different things, a couple different prefaces. Number one is this is just the beginning. There's so much more that is still yet to come. Some of the things that are in here are what I might call MVP, the minimal viable product. It works and it functions, but it's not to where I want it to be. But I've actually been able to spend a lot of time to actually make it very robust in several different locations. As we go through the demo itself and you see some of the features and stuff, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and then ask the question. Be happy to answer whatever you got. The thing that I do want you to realize is I have a vision, and the vision is this: in the next 2 years, maybe 3, possibly, definitely within the next 5, CRMs like this really will probably not exist. And I say that with a statement of, we are building this as a foundation for what's coming next. And with all of the AI capabilities that are out there, with the ability to create AI agents and doing the things in an automated way, this is the foundation of your data. But ultimately, being in front of the computer, being in front of your dashboard is not where we want you. It's not where you're going to be spending the time. Majority of the time will be in your cars whenever you're going to your next appointment. You'll be making phone calls. You'll be doing all the things that you want to do outside of your office. But you still have to have something, an entity of some sort to hold and house that information and use that information in a smart, intelligent way. So before we get into some of the smart stuff, I at least want to reassure you what we do have as far as the base and the important stuff. Dashboard, just a lot of number crunching, letting you see where you are in different things. We do show some of the core implementations, things that won't really get into it, but how do you score your business? If you've got a lot of conversions, a lot of leads coming in, and you're handling those leads, it's potentially a draw on how much time you have for your operations. And if you're spending all your time in your operations, then it takes away from your conversions. So the core strategies that I've taught for years is the balance of all of these, setting in the automations so that you don't go from feast to famine all the time in your business. It's always something where that business is always going up and down. And majority of the time, it's because you concentrate in one area so hard because you need more leads. You need more leads because you don't have any funds coming in. You don't have any closings. So you get those leads, but you're spending all your time in your leads, that your operations suffers, and vice versa. So, and even your retention for your past customers. So we've got some number crunching that deals with that. Dealing with your outbox and numbers of calls and stuff that you need to make for your business. It's just numbers, but it's there for you to see and use. The generations I'm going to come back to in a bit. Generations is that 1.0 version of SAM, and it's extremely important, but I'll come back to that. The contacts. Now, this is where you're going to be storing all of your contact information. In some of my previous software, there was a lot of questions for, can I customize the columns and can I get them to look the way I want to? And whenever I designed this, we did make it very easy to be able to set up different types of lists, different ways, being able to filter them different ways. So you can very quickly change your view between different layouts. Just know that that's there. You can set up locked columns and be able to do things. You can multi-select. You can do a lot of mass updating of records to edit them and keep them clean. So just the overall editing of contact records is there and very easy to do. If I go into a contact, just selecting one of the lines, it'll bring me into the contact record itself. Now, all of these fields are, pretty much basic fields for any CRM that you're going to talk about using. Addresses, phone numbers, stuff like that. You can add an unlimited number of numbers and emails and websites and addresses. But we do indicate, which one is the primary phone we want, which is the primary email we want. Whenever we're doing any kind of automation, we want to be able to know what numbers and stuff we're doing. But you can add other numbers, you can select them, do other things. Categorization of your contacts. This is extremely important in different ways of, A, B, C, D, a lot of different coaches train how to use categorization through an alpha categorization. Use it however you want, but it's there. The different types of contacts you might have, clients, leads, farms, all that stuff. So categorization is all there. We do have a couple fields that are going to be important. I'm going to point them out right now to show how you could use them in some of the routines, which we'll get to. First one is the contact preference. Some people just prefer a certain medium to read. Some people prefer SMS. Some people prefer email, just depending on what you want. We can select what that is. One of the things that we do is whenever we're creating messages, we can use that to identify how do they prefer to get their message and send it out in that way. Language, maybe there's other languages, especially we've got a lot of Spanish speaking in this area, maybe they prefer all their communication in Spanish. So before it goes out, we use the AI to be able to convert it and do the things that we need to make sure it's in the form that they prefer. Therefore, you're giving them the information in their format that they best receive it. Tags, you can tag contacts however many different ways you want. Use those tags for searching and doing lots of things. Important dates. Now I'm going to just highlight saying there are a lot of important dates that we have available. These important dates are used within our routines, and I'll explain more about how that is done. But just know that as you are doing things, either yourself or through some of the automation, these dates can be set automatically at different times. Once they get set, then a routine can kick off and do its thing, whatever you've assigned it to do, and that automation then kicks in and does the process. We'll get into more detail on that. Just realize we have lots of different dates and stuff that you can use and use within your workflows and routines. Personal details. Now, this is one that we feel is extremely important. Anytime that you're taking notes, you're on a phone call, you're finding out things about them, you can put in any number of personal details on that contact. The advantage of having that is whenever you're corresponding with your contacts, whenever you're on the phone with them or doing anything with them, we can use that personal details section and the priorities section, similar type of field, so that it can generate content, email information, stuff like that through AI that utilizes these tidbits of information to help personalize that message as it's going out. So we'll show some examples of that.
Yeah, one thing that's really worth noting here, within the personal details and priorities, a lot of times as agents, we're already collecting that information and we're sometimes even putting it into our system. But unfortunately, these, I call them legacy CRMs, are only going to ever hold that information. Usually when they hold that information, it's going to be hidden behind several different areas. So Then you have to know, oh, I need to go look for it. Once you do, you have to go find it. And then once you find it, you have to use your own judgment to even be able to do that. So the cool thing about Sam is that Sam is actually able to use these details that we're learning to help you build that relationship with the person you're communicating with. And we'll show you guys a little bit later exactly what that means. But I really like to just kind of draw an emphasis on that.
Anytime that you start activities or do things on the calendar, those items will be placed in the calendar section of the contact, so you can keep track of all kinds of stuff there. I did add recently an agreements area, and because of all the NAR challenges that NAR has been going through recently, being able to kind of track your buyer's agreements and some information on each one of those. We've got an area for that. So if you've got a buyer's agreement, you can specify some different information on it, just logging it, keeping it in the system. The AI will be able to use that for reminders and stuff later, but this is all to help you guys kind of organize and keep track of making sure you've got that agreement before you go showing homes and stuff. Social links, notes, connections. Now, connections is something that I've always wanted, and it's important to have. Whenever you're adding contacts into the database, you do have individual contact records for each person. Everybody has their own phone numbers. Everybody has their own everything. But whenever you have like husband, wife, or partners of some sort, we still keep them as separate records, but we can tie them together through connections. And we've been able to do that in past software where we have the spouse connection, but now you can do other connections, father, son, mother, daughter, all that. And even if you've got business partners and stuff like that is in there. So I'm in Cody's contact record. You can see here that I'm in there, Mark Stepp, as his father. Well, if I wanted to come to Cody, I was making notes, I was doing stuff. Oh man, I need to call Mark. I can just click on Mark and then bring up Mark's information. And if I go down to the connections on him, on this record, it would show that Cody is the connection, the reciprocal of it is the son. So it just kind of allows you to track those people, their relationships between each other, and then be able to quickly do things with them. If I just needed to call Mark real quick, I can call, I can SMS, do stuff real quick. Even though I'm in Cody's record, I can still do things with another record.
So this is kind of the brunt of the contact, but let's go ahead and I want to show off that first use case for actually being able to use Sam to help build those relationships. Now, I kind of oftentimes think that the CRM or customer relationship management system, it's not very good at managing those relationships. And we're real estate agents. We're in the business of one-on-one relationships. So if Mark goes up to my email address, you can click into that. And this would be where you could build just a one-off email. Now, there's lots of different ways you can email, and we'll dive into a couple others in just a second. But this is where Sam is able to actually, inside that contact, use those personal details. So over here on the left, we have some shimmers, if you will. It's kind of Sam's AI button. And when you click that, it's going to ask for an objective. Now, an objective is just a fancy way of saying, what are you hoping to accomplish? So we did pre-write this one just to save a little bit of time. But the objective of this specific email would be to write a message for a birthday using 2 or 3 details from their personal details list. So that list of personal details in the contact are going to be what we're using. Now, let's assume, like in Mark's contact actually doesn't have any personal details. So Sam would go there, you'd see nothing's there, and it can actually pull 3 to 5 fond wishes that one would share for a personal colleague or friend. So you have the ability to kind of balance the two. And then at the end of it, it's going to share one pleasantry based on these personal details that they can enjoy. So we've told Sam that's what we're hoping to write. And then Sam is going to actually write this for us. Now, the really cool thing about this is now a personalized message for, I suppose, for me, specifically written by Sam. Now, is it the world's best, most personalized email? Probably not. This is where you come in to actually help build this relationship, but it got pretty close. Let's see. It's asking about, or it's wishing me some joy with some dark roasted coffee. That's something that I mentioned. Spend some time with my dogs, participate in the martial art that I do. So this is a much better personalized experience. Now, if you fast backwards to these legacy CRMs, this is something that has actually bugged me about the industry. And it's that merge fields, these little guys up here that are going to pull information, have for the longest time been considered the standard for personalization. So you would see this dear contact first name. When you'd send it, it would say, Dear Cody. And the company kind of pats themselves on the back because they identified you by the first name. And they say, that's a personal email. Well, that's not really a personal email. But now inside of Sam, you're actually able to build these personal emails using information that all you had to do was you gathered it, you put it in their contact card. Sam was able to help you out. So this is a really great example of just one of the ways in which we can build those personal experiences into how we use Sam.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that's the bulk of the contact record, the contact information, everything that most people want in a CRM for contacts, it's got it. And if it doesn't, it's something I'm probably still working on, but a lot of capability there to do lots of different things, including if you wanted to, you can come in here and say, well, I need to select a bunch of records. I could come in, select them, unselect them, or do certain things. And just doing data cleanup, I can come in here and update selected contacts. I'd be able to change categories, change types. So anytime that you're coming from one CRM to another, inevitably there's some data cleanup, and we've given some tools to be able to easily do that.
That's right.
So contacts is there. The next thing that I was tasked with as far as my ultimate CRM for real estate agents was the properties. Keeping track of all the properties that you guys have access to in your inventory is extremely important. And realizing that over time, you need to still retain the information for historical purposes. But there are basically three entities of your properties area. There's the physical property itself, the address. It has bedrooms and bathrooms and, just some basic information. And I'm just going to go into somewhere in time here. A lot of people name their properties. You can put a property in there. You can give it the actual physical address and basic information. Who are the owners? You can have an unlimited number of owners in a property. And then all the property details, and you can assign that type of stuff very easily, selecting it. Property information pretty much stays the same for the most part, except for updates and stuff like that. We do keep track of when was this last updated, the section, when was it last updated, so that well, it's been 4 years since I visited them. I know that they've made some changes. You can go in there and update the roof, maybe, do different things to be able to make sure it's totally up to date. But you've got your physical property information there, the location, tax information, all things that you'd want to know about the property. You can tag them. Again, there's that important date fields where you can assign different dates for different things and be able to run routines off of those. Whole section for keeping track of notes and files. Now, once you've got your physical property, hopefully at some point you want to be able to sell that property. The owner wants to sell it. So this owner, we can come over to the listing side of this, and we can create a listing on the property. Now, this property listing is all the different details that go along with a property listing. the prices and MLS numbers and statuses and stuff. But this is stuff that changes on the property every time it's listed, right? We do also have those important dates, tags, important dates, and some additional things like who are the party members to this listing, who's the seller, the buyer, the inspectors, all the different party members that you might have within a listing, could be put down here. And we've got some that are actually more on the transaction side on this example, but the photographer, the stager, those types of people. Whenever the automation is set up and you want to send something to the photographer or a message to the stager, we now know who that person is and we can get that communication out to them based off of having them into the party members. There's a whole section for the marketing information. Whenever you've got lots of text and stuff that you want to be able to use and create and stuff in here about the property listing itself, very easy to get that in there. Showing instructions, lockbox codes, stuff like that is all available. I have a section in here for estimated proceeds. So seller wants to know, how much ballpark am I going to be able to clear on this? And you can put in some basic information and calculate that, print it up if you want, and use stuff. As offers come in, you can put in the information about each offer. Just come up, add an offer. Each time an offer is added, you can kind of see some comparisons of the offer, what they want. How quickly do they want to take possession, all that kind of stuff. So these are all here. What we have added in this section is whenever you're entering any of the offer information, you can put in the details and stuff here. We do have an evaluate option here that will look at the offer, evaluate it, look for any pros and cons of that offer. Is there anything good or bad that you might want to highlight to the seller? And it will spell that out for you right here. So offer price is above listing price. That's pro. Great. Yeah. But they don't have a down payment. There's no earnest deposit. I mean, there's some things that isn't there, and those obviously are cons. So doing some pro and cons, getting that in there. You can add your own. You can remove any of them if it just doesn't go with what you want to share with the seller. You can certainly remove them. And then there's a comparative score as well. So compared to other offers, where is this at? And it's not a matter of giving them something that choose this one. It's giving them the information so that they can choose it themselves. Again, how much are they going to clear based off of knowing what we know about this offer and the information that we had from our estimated seller's proceeds before? How is this different? So set those up. You can select several of them. You can print comparisons, print the details, and do some stuff there. So a lot of good stuff just to be able to track those offers and use them within the system.
And the cool part about this is it allows you to remain in the driver's seat of being the expert while taking all the information you have, putting it through a filter. You do that last final check, make sure that information's right. And then you can show up to them and say, look, here's all the details that we have based on that. Now, the last thing that I kind of want to show, Mark, you didn't exactly showcase this, but inside the listing section, because we already have all of the property details, you may actually have multiple listings that go. And so you can keep track of all of your different listings as time goes by. That way you can see how the actual listing has changed from listing to listing if that property is on the market several times.
Correct. Yeah. Hopefully you've done your job well enough that the person buying or selling will want to buy or sell with you in the future. And having the property is one thing, but being able to, add a different listing to the same property is something that we have the ability to do. Now, Once a listing has a contract on it, we go into the transactions area. And the transactions just allows us to see from contract to close, what are the things, what are the important fields and information pieces that we need to know about whenever we're dealing with that. And pretty much the same types of stuff, just different fields, earnest money, down payments, any kind of date fields that might be in there. Again, those party members, who are the different party members that are involved in the transactional side. And if this transaction falls through, you can change the status to close and you can start another transaction, go back to maybe one of those offers and start a different transaction on the same property. So you've got capabilities of historical information that you need for your, unfortunately, lawsuits happen, and at least you have access to all the details that you've done for that particular listing or transaction during that process.
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it there.
Yeah. So those are the main functions of the CRM inside here, your contact, property, transaction, and listing databases. But outside of that, there's a lot that's going to actually play into your ability to manage your business. And so the very first one is going to be the calendar section. Now we've got just a pretty standard calendar. You can view days, weeks, months. You can also look at the different schedule, how that's going to fall throughout the day. And then if you have multiple members on your team, you can look at timelines, and you can start to see where your team actually has holes and the ability to review all of those different pieces. So this is going to allow you to start kind of planning and really understanding that. Once we have all of that, you have the outbox, which anytime we're creating messages using SAM, so just like we had created using the AI to write that custom letter, if we didn't send it manually, it would come to the outbox. And anytime we send a message, it's going to come to the outbox as well. So we can keep track of all of the different messages that we either have past due, which luckily we don't have any past due right now, so there's none to be seen, as well as any that are upcoming or have been sent. And then after we have that, we've got our call list. Now, this call list is actually in its very first form, but what this is going to allow you to do is see, right now, we've got several past due calls. That's a big yikes. So it's at the very top because we need to kind of set precedent and get through some of these. Now, the really cool thing about this call list is we can look at all of the call list information. This is going to be a follow-up call, and we can select all of the different options that we have for phone numbers. Now, we're actually on a MacBook. And so what Mark would be able to do is click this mobile device, and he could call through his MacBook. It would connect to his iPhone, and he would be able to place that call. Or you can use different messaging services to be able to actually use that. Yeah, what's up, Connor?
Just to verify for tracking, these are all previous clients that you have submitted into the software, right? Not something that AI has gotten from like a batch leads or a call dialer.
Well, the ones that I physically have in here are just, a lot of them are just random names and numbers for
Sure. Yeah, I'm saying.
But yes, I mean, you can bring your existing contacts in here. If you've got any kind of lead database of or a lead website or whatever, you can bring those leads into the system and automatically do stuff. We don't recommend it, and kind of recommend that you don't do it. People do buy leads, and you can put them in there, but those are extremely cold and typically not worth the money that you spend on them.
Yeah. So this specific account we're looking at, it's just kind of our demo account, but on our side of the business, we actually have an account that holds all of our customers. I use it each and every day to manage our side of the business, very similar to how our real estate agents use and manage their systems. Does that kind of make sense?
Sure. So once we've gotten our contacts into the system, this is kind of a reminder area of what we're looking at now of who we need to reach back out to. Now, does the artificial intelligence recognize that we have not reached out to them in a while. And will they automatically send a text out? Like, does the program automatically send a text out so that, let's say we're out in the field?
We will be getting to that.
Yeah.
That will be part of like a huddle that is in process, but we will get to that because that's some cool stuff that's coming.
Yeah, and that's a really great question too, because, and we'll show you in a second, these automations that you can build into the system that'll build those processes into it for you, so you can keep track of them, you can stay on top of them. This is a really great way. One of my jobs previously, I worked in sales, and I would have to call 10 people at once, which is an absolute nightmare, and you have like an umph of a second to read their details. Well, on this call list, I can now at least see who I'm calling. I can go one by one. I can give them a call. And this is just version 1. Next steps of this is actually going to have Sam. It's going to gather transcript for you, and it can help coach you along the call. Maybe Mark was giving me a call, and since he has personal details on me, Sam's like, oh, have you asked him about, and then it'll like mention a personal detail to help us through all of the different things. It can give us some insights into how we need to navigate the call, just to help us with that overall process. I know oftentimes we do little, I forget what they're called. You're basically just playing telephone with your friends to practice calls. Role plays. Thank you. Oh my goodness. And so now we have Sam helping us with that role play, but it's actually being done live.
Gotcha.
So this is one of those pieces. It's like it's not in its finished form yet. It is something I'm still working on. But the coaching, it can record the call, and it, depending on where you live, and two-party, whether you need two-party approval or not. But the recording of it can do transcript, and then as it's doing the recording and doing the transcripting, it could be collecting information. Whenever you're ready for your, you hang up, it could create some follow-up actions. So there's still a lot more that's coming on this, but it's something that's very doable just with AI and being able to make sure that everything is ready for you to move on to the next person. Because that's really what, so many people spend so much time on individual calls, just recording, what did I do? Or some people don't even do that. I mean, that's go call to the next person, but it's really good having that follow-up. What am I supposed to do? Were there any action items I needed to do? Get those action items scheduled. Those types of things are things that the AI component will do for you.
And inside the system, the goal is methods of communication. We can send them out a message through email, through text message. We can give them a call, so we can attack from different angles, just again, depending on how they prefer to be communicated with or what we're actually needing to do. So going to the next one, unless Connor, does that kind of answer your question?
No, it does. You did a good job. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So going to the templates, most systems, generally speaking, are going to have templates inside of them. These are either pre-written messages that you've either installed, maybe they're messages that you've written, but inside of there, you can house them, but then you can also go one step further, and you can create new ones. And just like we did inside that contact card for me, you can actually have Sam help you write some of these different messages. And the reason I call them messages is because of something really snazzy that you can do inside of Sam. So we'll start off with, we're going to click this objective. And again, we built out an objective just to help you guys out. There we go. So inside this objective, the scenario would be, we've got a new lead in the door, and they are a first-time home buyer. Now, we got them into the door probably because of some resource that we put out onto our website. And so we need to make sure that we give it to them, this first-time home buyer guide. But while we're doing that, we want to ask where they are in the buying process and offer to give them any guidance. And then that call to action, or that next step we want, is to schedule a time to chat with us. So that's kind of the overall goal of this message. We plug that into Sam, and then Sam is going to create a message for us. So now we have an email that was written by Sam, just based on what we needed to accomplish for this one. We could snap the link to that specific resource into it. There's a little click here hyperlink. You just plug it in there. Maybe it's on your Google Docs and you just grab the share link or something like that. And you would be able to have this message. Now, I keep saying message because right now it's an email. But if you remember back to my contact card, I don't prefer email. I don't prefer phone calls. I prefer text messages. Well, usually in legacy CRMs, that's kind of where it ends. And it's too bad. Either A, you get an email in text message format and it's a terrible experience, or B, you just get an email. Well, in Sam, you can click this text message and Sam is going to go, oh, you don't have a text message built for it. Would you like to? Mark's going to click yes. And Sam is actually going to convert that email into the 160 character text message using the same concept to give us a very tightly worded message. So now we have both formats, and Sam would be able to send whichever one you prefer just based on having that. So there's a lot of power inside of here that you can use for these templates.
Yeah, and the templates themselves, you do choose what type of template do you want. Is it a contact template where it comes from the contacts? Is it a property template where it just has property information? Listing could have property or listing information. Transaction could have property, listing, or transaction information. So depending on what you want, we just still have the access to those merge fields, but with the AI, it can actually generate things for you automatically.
That's right. So I think you're about to pull this up. But the other thing that is worth kind of noting is you had talked about translations, right? And so inside these messages, maybe sometimes we're communicating with someone who speaks a different language. Well, the power in the ability to use AI inside these systems is that you can actually inside here translate all of the different templates. So maybe it gets translated from English to Spanish, and then we'll have one version of both. Now, I don't speak Spanish. It was my goal, and unfortunately, the little app just wasn't it for me. I tried it for a year and it just didn't work. But maybe you do speak Spanish, and now you have a way to serve your customers in the method that they prefer. You know, maybe that's their native tongue, and now we can toggle back and forth from English to Spanish. So little things like that that allow you, again, just to serve them.
Now, whenever a message is written in English and the automation is set up to send it out, and if the contact says, oh, I prefer Portuguese, or Spanish or whatever, if you don't have that translation, it will translate it for you, put it into the outbox for you so that you can approve it before it actually goes out. And it stores that translation version versus the English version for that contact.
That's right. So these are the templates inside here. But now it's kind of time to move into the routines. Now, most CRMs these days have workflow automations. And the thing about workflow automations is oftentimes real estate agents will spend weeks, sometimes months, thinking through all of the different processes they have to do. Maybe it's a new lead process and it's 50 steps long, or a contract or close process and it's 150 steps long. And once you think through all those steps, you have to think about each and every one of the actions. Then you have to go and actually put it into the system. Well, back to those important dates that Mark was talking about, that is how we are redefining those workflow automations. We call them routines because everyone has different routines in their day, whether it's their morning routine where they wake up, brush their teeth, make some coffee, maybe you go for a walk, then you go to work. Whatever your routine is, it's just one step at a time. And so rethinking about how we engage with those automations allows us to focus in on what is this specific thing that I'm working on and how can I deliver a world-class client experience while I'm doing it. So the first one that Mark's going to show is for the photography date. So instead of thinking about the entire photography process and the showing pieces that go into that, all you have to do is think, man, I have a photography date coming up. What would a great experience be for all of the people involved with that?
Yeah. So in this particular case, we're taking, instead of the big full workflow, we're taking it down, eating an elephant one bite at a time. And we're looking at specifically that important date for a photography date in the listing here. So once we've identified that we've got some kind of title, we've got which database we're setting this up on, what date field, then we can specify the individual activities that we want to have happen once that date gets filled in, and it's all automatic. One day before that photography date, say I put this in on February 1st is my my photography date. One day before that, or January 31st, it needs to send out a reminder to the seller. Same thing for a property photography setup with the photographer. It's another message that goes out. So each one of these has details on, if a date is filled in, exactly how do I calculate how frequently do I want to communicate with them. Connor, you got a question?
Yeah. So are these something we have to go in and send manually, or are they sent for us?
They will be, well, it's a combination. If you're using templates, just straight templates, you know what the message is, it fills in the information, then it can send it for you automatically because they're basically pre-approved.
Cool.
If there's any kind of AI in the interpretation, manipulation of the message before it goes out, we do ask you to approve it so that you're not sending out things that you don't want to send out.
Right. No, that makes sense. I just didn't know if it was like these were reminders more for us, or these were letting us know the scheduled, these already pre-scheduled messages.
So you can set up an activity that is just a reminder to yourself, hey, you've got this appointment or whatever. But each activity or each calculation of the activity here can have one or more actions. And these actions are what can be automated. So in this case, we have an action to send a reminder to the seller. And one thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to delete that for a second. So in this case, the action description is send a reminder to the seller. This selected for automatic processing means go ahead and do the process automatically as best as you can. There are different types of actions, and this one is to send a message, but we can add a person to the call list. We can run a webhook, which is an automation to communicate with other software. We can update fields, many of the fields that, something happens, so I want to update some other field automatically. That can be done. I can send a Slack message. There will be other actions come along that we're going to add, but those are the 5 that we currently have. We have a section here for the template. So you can pre-select for this message going out, I want to have a certain template that I always send. And in that case, it would just blast it out and send it automatically. But we do have this objective option here that will be used in this case. If I don't have a template, it will create a brand new message with the objective in mind. And I can hit my little shimmers here that it'll create something just as an example to kind of show you about what it would create for you. Hi, Cody. This is a friendly reminder for an upcoming photography appointment for your property at this address, city, state. We can't wait to showcase your beautiful home. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for choosing Workflow Secrets, and then the signature. I mean, that's a perfectly good message that goes out. It's telling you the time of the photography, where it's at, and who it's from and who it's to. So, very appropriate message that could be sent out with that objective. Now, the thing about just using the objective, like I said earlier, was that if this is run, it'll run it automatically. But what it does is it puts it into your outbox for approval before it actually gets sent out. If I did choose the template and did not have an objective, then it could have gone ahead and just blasted it out because you've pre-written the template. You're just merging in fields. You're good to go. Another option, though, is that you could select a template, but then also personalize it in some way with an objective so that it alters or manipulates the template before it goes out. And in that case, it would need approval as well before it goes out because it's still AI making the change for you.
And this is a way that you can actually build in templated messages. I send them every time. I've already written it. I know it is a email or a text message that always gets opened. People always respond to me about. But maybe, back to that first example, I wanted to include a couple personal details in it. Is it specifically for this send reminder to seller? No. But if, say, they wanted to have some personal details in it, then Sam could take that template, adjust it to include those personal details. It's going to be a one-of-one, custom to them email, even though it's fit into that template. Then it goes to the outbox, you review before you send it. But the really cool thing about that is now you have the ability to send it to one person, or you could send it to, my gosh, 1,000 people at once. All you'd have to do is go through and approve it. So that's a really cool way of using Sam to help with those automated experiences that are still world-class.
Exactly. Here's that message type. So we have the ability to specify in the action, do you want to send it as an email specifically? It's always going out as an email. Do you want to always send it out as an SMS? Or do you want to use their preferred method? In Cody's case, it'd be an SMS. Mm-hmm. I may choose that I want to typically send this out as an email, but I will choose his preference over my preference. So if I was to do that same generation now, and because it's set as email, it's going to change the look of that message, make it a little bit bigger and broader. Of course, that's kind of a simple message, so it won't have too much more, but it will create, try it again. It'll create that message for email purposes.
That's right. That's right.
I'll have to check that one. And then you can also specify, who do you want to send this to? Is it to the seller? Is it to one of the other party members? So you've got all kinds of options for specifying different people that this message might be going to. And that's important whenever you're setting up the message to go out. Now you can set up one action. You can set up multiple actions, whatever you want to do for 1 day before the photography date. I want to do something at 8:00 a.m. What do I want to do? And then you can just set up those automations that do that process. But on other days, I want to do other things for other people. So there's all kinds of different stuff. Here's one for even doing a Slack message 30 minutes before the photo shoot, just to send me a Slack and send it to the team, let them know that, hey, there's going to be a photography. So you can set up several different types of activities that will show up on your calendar. Some of them are just reminders. Some of them have actions. If they have the word auto to the right of them, it means it's set up to go automatically if it can. And otherwise, it will go into your outbox for you. Now, we do have, in this case, the routine is set up for the photography date, and all of those calculations are based off of whatever value has been put into that photography date. But there may be times whenever you want to send a workflow at the time the workflow starts, a start date, and you can specify that as well. So you can just set up whenever this routine starts, just go ahead and do whatever it says. In this case, it's a Slack message that we've started the photography workflow. No big deal there, but you can choose how you want to calculate this. Is it based off of that date for this routine? Is it based off of the starting of this routine? Or is it on a specific day, month, day? So you might be doing something for a closing date, and you want to set up an activity so that the next January 2nd, you automatically send out some message that's got their escrow papers or their HUD-1 or whatever to give them for taxes for the next year. So you can specify, July 7th or July 4th for Independence Day. So any of these types of things can be set up for either a specific date in your calculated important dates, calculated start date from the start date of the routine itself, or a specific date.
That's right. So once you have these built out, we focus specifically on, okay, on the photography date, I want this to occur. All you have to do is check this little active, and then that routine that you built gets put into the active one. So from here, now we can talk about those important dates, and you can actually see how these would get triggered. So once you have that, you can hop into the properties and then go into the listing section. And that's going to be where this photography date is going to exist. So you can scroll down a little bit and you'll find all of those important dates. Now, the really cool thing about this is instead of looking at workflows as those processes, now we can look at these routines as these specific important dates. Mark's going to choose the 24th of January, just a couple days from now, on the photography date specifically. He's going to set the time that he wants this to go out. Again, it was one day before. And now that he's set the time and date, that routine has started. So what he should be able to see is a couple of different pieces of that routine. Now we can go back to the calendar section. And if you skip forward to next week or scroll up a little bit, because it's on the 24th, you're going to see that all of those different pieces are now on our calendar because that routine has started for us.
Yeah, so in this case, we've got the 30-minute warning before, the attend the photo shoot, there's a day after, check on photography, there's a Slack message that should already be gone out. And whenever you look at any particular activity, you can come in here and do it manually if you wanted to, or just wait for it to actually do it. It should be.
It's at 417.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question with these things that are being sent out?
Yeah.
Where are our invoices being attached to these messages, or do we still have to have a separate CRM that handles the transaction side of things?
So,
like for instance, if we have a photo shoot and we send out this invite for this photo shoot that's going on, usually we would have attached our invoice for that photo shoot that the homeowner would have to pay, maybe even staging, whatever it may be. That way, all of that can be done in one place. Is that integrated into this?
So each of the property listing transaction sections, there is a files section, and you can just attach them from there, and then they would be they could be automatically sent out based off of the message. Or a lot of, especially appraisals can get very lengthy, very large files. You're really better off putting them somewhere and then using a link to let them download it from that link and having access to that.
It's worth noting the SAM platform does not actually have a payment processor. So if that's part of the question, I suppose another way you could go about it would be to build those invoices through a template, and that could also be sent out.
Yeah, it could. Okay. So the routine part of it is the real guts of the internal automation, but there are some things that happens behind the scenes through these agents, these automated agents, and we are in process of exposing those agents to you guys to be able to do things. Now, some of which, now I don't have, this is one piece I don't have fully done for you yet, but what you'll be able to do is set up different. So Sam is the main director agent. It's the one that kind of directs things. As commands come in, it needs to do things. translate and do all that kind of stuff. It actually does that. It'll send that process off to have it done and then bring it back. But the goal is for you guys to be able to set up AI agents, AI assistants to be able to do different things, in which case you might have a lead nurture agent. You may have, and I keep saying the word agent, it's an AI assistant. They're called agents, but it's not the same thing as a real estate agent. But you may have a AI assistant that is a lead nurture that handles all the lead process, making sure that it communicates and checks on people and stuff. The listing coordinator checks on your listings and making sure that there are no things behind the scenes that you've dropped through the cracks and stuff. It'll put things on your calendar for you, and it's identifying those on your calendar, but people don't always look at their calendar. So the agent can come up and remind you and do stuff with that. So these are the parts that we're still working through. It's almost there, and I really can't show you everything there, but this just gives you an easy interface to kind of see who do I have on my team and what do they do. Now, the whole idea of this is by having these AI assistants, we'll be able to go into a huddle, just like you have a daily huddle, possibly, or a weekly huddle with your team, or your broker or whoever. You could go into a huddle with your AI assistants and start communicating with them. And the goal would be to either verbally, by your, the microphone on your computer, you can say, hey, let's have a huddle. Your people come in, tell me about lead nurture. And then the lead nurture agent will say, hey, you've got these leads that came in. One of them had a question. You need to make sure that you check your call list. I've got them scheduled for your call list, and kind of go through the process of letting you know who they are, what they do, and they specialize in a certain area. You might have some of these agents that, they have specialists that work with them to create the emails, create the SMS messages. We have these running kind of in the background, but you can specifically give specialized commands to these guys to be able to do certain things. So, edit the specialist details. If you wanted them to have special powers to do things, we'll be able to make that available for you. So it's a little bit easier interface. There's lots of AI tools out there to do some stuff, but as real estate agents, those tools are tough to use. And typically you'll hire somebody to build you an AI agent to do this, that, or the other thing. Or, if it's just creating content using ChatGPT, you could certainly do that, typing stuff out and doing the things. But it's typically a matter of knowing what you need and then having the agent do it. But this here will be doing that more as an automated process, and then communicating with them in a more of a verbal, or you could do it by texting, typing, but definitely a much easier experience, better experience doing it verbally.
That's right. And I think ultimately, I don't know if you shared this time, Mark and I like to kind of riff on where is the industry headed? How do you guys as real estate agents ultimately start engaging with your technology 1 year, 3 years, 5 years from now? And how do we help give you the best tool to be able to do it? Well, Mark was saying that ultimately the goal is to have you spend less time at your computer on the CRM actually working. And that's where these agents come in, because as you start using these agents, imagine you're in your car, you're driving from one showing back to the office, and you just pop over, you say, hey, Sam, how many leads do I have coming in? Sam says, oh, well, we have 3 leads. I've got 3 emails queued up for them. And you can say, oh, that's cool. Let's go ahead and review them real quick. And you start going through those emails, you preview them, you get them scheduled to send. It's kind of like you're dealing with Jarvis from Iron Man. But that's the future that this allows us to have, because it's going to be very conversational. It's going to allow you to step back and not have to spend so much time inside the system. Now, Connor, I want to make sure that that question on the automations gets answered fully. So within the routines, those do get built based on your specific processes that you're actually engaging with. So they don't come pre-built for you inside the system. But this is another, as we're like kind of showcasing some of the future stuff, another feature that Mark has been readily working. So this is his little dev window, and I'll let him kind of explain what this is.
Yeah, so this is not finished. I was really hoping to have this done today to show everybody. Actually, I said that last week, and it's still, I got sidetracked on another project. But with this, or another part of the project, with this is, you might come in here and say, well, I want to create a new routine. And in that routine, maybe I want to do a first time home buyer lead nurture. And so it's for contacts, and maybe this is set up for whenever, I don't know, lead conversion date, whenever a lead comes in. At that point, this becomes available, and let Sam build it. So the idea here is, I click on this, it'll come up and let me start typing in an objective. Please create a routine that will communicate with new leads that are first-time home buyers. Be sure to send them something once every day for 5 days, every other day for the next 5 days, and let them know some fun facts about first-time home buyers or questions that people commonly ask. And then you would hit generate. So once you do that, then it would go in, it would create each of the tasks, the first 5 of them being every day, the next 5 every other day. It would go in, create the action. The action then is to send a message. It would create the template for you, link the template, put it into the activity, and then you've got it. So it just created a 10-day lead nurture process in a matter of, a minute or two to do the whole thing. My goal is to allow you to create that for any type of routine, for any of the different fields and stuff. The other part of that would be, maybe I've got an existing one, maybe, a client onboarding or something that I want to look at. And maybe I could say, please enhance this to be more, more engaging with my contacts. And then it knows what your routine actually is. And then it could recommend additional ones that you could add and put them in here for you automatically. So in the past, in other softwares that I've been part of, that type of thing could take, several hours. It could take weeks. It could take months if you're building out a full-blown workflow process, maybe a contract to close process or a listing agreement to contract process. Depending on what you're wanting to do, it could take lots of time. But what we're doing is we're saying, okay, if we just look at this one date, this one piece of the puzzle, what would I want to do if that date gets filled in? Now, that date may get filled in manually. It could be filled in automatically because we have the ability. So on, just as a for instance, you may have some routine that, based off of it getting run, it automatically updates a date of some sort. So maybe come down here and we say, well, on this particular one, maybe the referral date, I want to do something from the add something to the referral date 0 days after the current date or something, or I can do some kind of mathematics. That then updates. Well, if you've got a routine on your referral date, it then kicks in and it does its thing. So a lot of the automation that's built into this is keyed off of these dates, and we've got lots of dates for doing different things, but it allows you to think about the workflow in a different way so that you chunk it up into smaller bits and you don't go into overwhelm. And if I want to maintain this, I just think about, okay, in this one simple section of next appointment date, what do I want to do? And build out that routine in a way that is giving them that world-class experience.
Absolutely. So Connor, does that kind of give the full like question answer?
No, that does. I mean, that is a really cool feature that I've never seen before. So
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's what you guys were talking about in the video, and that's really what caught my attention was all that. So I'm excited for when we finish that development side of things.
Again, realize this is like the beginning. Ultimately, I really just do not feel like in the next 2 to 3 years people will be interfacing with this, but this is the bulk of what you have to transition from. Right. And people are used to this. They're not used to, talking to, well, they do, Alexa. I talk to Alexa all the time. Hey, Alexa, turn on the lights, do this, do that. People are getting more and more into that. We'll be able to do the same thing here. Alexa, give me my leads for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Katie, what's up?
So is there a way, are y'all familiar with Boomtown?
I am.
Okay, I've used Boomtown in the past, and I really like that you could put in, like, you get a new lead and they give you all the criteria that they want for a house. You put it in there, and then it automatically sends when those houses come on the market to them, and I don't have to think about it. Is there a way that this can connect with someone's MLS or website to get houses sent automatically without me having to think?
Yeah, not yet, but that is one of the plans, is to do that. I mean, I've spent years doing this. In my first CRM, we were hooked up to several MLSs, HAR and San Diego and Northwest. I mean, there's just all kinds of MLSs that are out there. The challenge is maintaining those over time. We can get connections and do things with other vendors to be able to do that. And ultimately, I will probably do that interface with those vendors. However, it is extremely expensive. So we're concentrating more on the individuals right now. If you've got Boomtown, it's a great product. It doesn't handle the transactional side as well from the users that a lot of our users had both Boomtown and our product to be able to handle the transactional side better.
Yeah, I find that if you use them, they all work. Like, I have Boomtown and I never used it. And then I was like, oh, that would have been really nice if I even knew what I was doing. But our firm didn't really go over what all Boomtown was in it. Boomtown, and it's also like, an arm and a leg a month to have that.
Yeah, that's the problem with Boomtown, is it's like close to $2,000 a month for.
And they have to do that because of that MLS connection.
Yeah,
it is.
I understand. Yeah, I understand that. But
I did have another question on, like, the new NRA law that's coming, the one-to-one consent. So is this like after that has already happened? Can you send out a bulk text message? Do you already have to have that one-to-one consent? Is that something you're worried about with this program, or is that more on when you buy it, you better make sure you're doing right at your firm?
Well, I mean, you still need to make sure you've got that consent before you're
marketing
doing things with them. Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the legalities. I've spent a lot of time with a few of the industry leaders on that, and I mean, Saul Klein. I don't know if you know Saul. He's right on top of that all the time. And if you have to do it, otherwise.
Have you used the Mojo dialer? Have you heard of that?
I do know of Mojo. In my previous product, we did have an integration with them, and certainly it's something that I have on my list to integrate with as well. The Mojo dialer, allows you to bring in
Yeah, well, that's what I'm worried about with the one-to-one consent. I know that you can literally block off a whole neighborhood and put them in your Mojo dialer and
Mm.
call 3 at a time, but
And
you
you
didn't get any one-to-one consent. So
and
I,
and and you can get fined on that, and it can be up to $10,000 per call.
yeah. Oh yeah, Mojo. Mojo's got to lose some clients. Yeah, it's something to
There's so
know.
many laws right now. That's one of the challenges is, people, the old way of doing things with text messaging and phone calls and stuff like that is a bit of a challenge now because of all the new legislation that's out there and what they've implemented to try to reduce the spam and the phishing and all the things
This is
that
what
goes
they're going
on.
back to.
It makes it really tough for us to be able to help you guys.
Yeah, this is the
Legally,
product legally. This is a good product legally right here. And it focuses if you keep building your clients over time, those are who your main source needs to be anyways. And
Yeah,
you be touching them and not forget about it. This allows you to do that.
right. I spent several years with Joe Stump. I don't know if you know Joe or have heard of Joe. He's a real estate coach out of Escondido area. I think he's where he's at now. By referral only. And I'd be up on stage with him showing the product and stuff, and everything that came out of his mouth was, building that world-class experience to build that relationship so that they do repeat and referral business with you, and then that is your business.
Mhm.
And that is so critical in today's market to be able to say, yes, you need to see this agent. They did me wonderful. That referral is so important.
Well, even with that one-to-one consent, like that's your opportunity to kind of stand out in a strange way, because you're one-on-one. Hey, Mark, do you mind if I'm sending you text messages? And you actually get that, but they're going to feel that impact because there are companies out there that are still spamming them. And my gosh, I get probably a half dozen a week. I think that my data gets into the dark news all the time or something, because I just can't get away from it. But those small little moments, like they feel like they're hindrances. But even with what we're planning in the actual call list with it recording, you can have that conversation. Hey, I use a tool that anytime I'm on the phone with you, it's going to record that so that I can make sure that I'm servicing you better. You're going to help me on that conversation. Is that okay? Like, do you mind? And it takes what could be a really awkward conversation, especially if it's one-on-one, and it actually opens up the floor for you to kind of be a more human with them, right? Yeah. Connor, did you have one other thing? I might have cut you off.
No. I was just so the it wasn't a huge question, but just the leads that they have access to. That's when they go into our website, fill out really what they're looking for, and those leads automatically get pushed into this program. Do we have to? I guess my main question is, our current web developer. Or is that something you guys implement into our website, or our current web developer is going to have to collaborate with you to figure out how to get the leads generated?
Sure. So let me show you this. So in the upper right corner of our screen, we've got the little setup icon for the person. There's an integrations area that we've got. And in that integrations area, we've got this email leads to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
What this allows us to do is you can add an unlimited number of specialized emails. They just have a big code on the front of it at sam.workflowsecrets.info. And on your website, as one, you can typically on your website be able to send those registered contacts to multiple people, typically anyway. Just add one of these phone numbers that you've added to that email list. Your web developer should be able to just add, copy it and send it to them, say, add this to it. So you would get it, Sam would get it. Now, what we do is we have AI capabilities that whenever that email comes in to this email address, it's designated to you. Each person gets their own set of email addresses, basically. and it will look at the body of that email and use AI to figure out names, addresses, phone numbers, all that kind of content information, throw it into the contact record for you. At the same time, you can say, well, it came from my website. You can specify, a title for you just to know that it is in there. You can categorize it. You can give it as a lead. You can give it a status. The source, you can say it's from my website. Whatever you want to do for categorization, you can tag it, and then you can click on save. So what happens then is whenever that lead comes in, if it's one lead, if it's 1,000 leads, it doesn't matter. It goes through, it breaks up the information, it throws it into the database, and then you're good to go. Now, it could set a date. Maybe you want to go in there and say, I've got a new lead. The new lead date is this, and I set a routine that then sends out a message every day for the next 10 days, whatever, and gives them the information that they want.
Okay, I understand that. I just was wondering where it's grabbing these leads from, like if somehow it's linked to our call to action button or something along
Yeah, you can do it to the call to action button. You could set up, like I've got one here for a Google form for an open house registration. Maybe you've set up a specialized form and you have that
just post it on Facebook, Instagram, all that, and
all those different ones. As long as you can send that content to an email, you can bring it in and you're good to go.
Gotcha.
Cool.
So last thing, and I said I'd skip over it and then come back to it. I know we're getting close to time. I hate to take up too much time here. So real quickly, the 1.0, Sam, some things that is extremely, it's great that Cody put in here. He did go by my conversion, my core strategies, and you can create different types of content very easily by just putting in a few different things. First time home buyers, engage. I can click on begin. Now you could do this through ChatGPT, but this allows you to set up the different pieces very easily. It will go in and try to fine tune or use refining questions to help figure out what you want to create. You can come in here and you can make changes. If you were to do this on ChatGPT and say, give me 5 questions that would help, make this stand out, you'd have to copy paste.
Mark, this is cool, man. This is cool. Yeah. I like this.
So you put in all the information. You go through the process of letting it create the information, and boom, there you go. So here's some frequently asked questions. Maybe it's not as big as you want it. Maybe it probably had in there a length, trying to keep it under a certain length. But we can even come in here. I've got a section in here for expanding all content. So it goes through and it breaks up this message into separate sections, and then it starts building out more content in each one of those sections for you.
Now, the power in doing this too is these are your lead magnets. These are the things you post on your website. You start pulling in leads from them, but you can use those questions that you're getting asked anyways, build out one for each of those questions. Now you've got resources to send people. Now you've got things that they're going to find, and you can start driving social media to those resources. Those come into your leads. So now you've got things that you can trade and exchange for their details. And this is a method that we actually use in our business. This is a method that a lot of agents coach on. And it's been a really powerful method, just creating content. We were able to create a resource. Maybe we need to spend another 5 minutes reviewing it, reading through it, applying our own little touch. But it's going to be a good resource that we can use, especially, that was for a first-time home buyer, and it's ready to go pretty well.
How easy is that? I mean, it doesn't get much easier. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, you just did 3 hours of research in the span of 5 seconds. That was great.
We do keep each iteration. So if you wanted to go back to the first one, you can switch between them. You can copy and stuff. You can refine it and say, I just want this one section to be changed. I mean, there's lots of possibilities and capabilities there. The other thing that we do have is what Cody calls quests. And I love the whole idea of this, but basically a quest allows you to do several different things. And once you do them, it checks them off and you're trying to complete the quest. One of the things that we have in here is like the business planning. So maybe you want to set your business goals for the year, or, what are my conversation goals? As far as how many conversations should I have each year? And I've done this a few times, so it saves it. So I'm going to start a new one. What this does then is, first thing is it says, okay, let's answer some questions about your business. Where are you at? How much is your the average price of the homes you sell? What's your average commission, gross income? How much do you want to make this year? Well, I mean, it's just a matter of putting it in here. Maybe I want to make $500,000. Maybe I want to make $1 million, whatever.
That'd be pretty good.
Depending on how much work you want to do based off of the volume, if you've got $300,000 as your average, then you're going to have to do a lot more work. But so I hit that, and then it starts going through and it does some mathematics for you. So we're using this to really help you identify what should my goals be. So here's the summary of what I input. Here's my goals and the calculations. So basically, in order to reach my $500,000 for the year, I need to have 3,600 conversations monthly, and then daily. I need to be calling 17 people based off of this. Now, if your numbers are different, it's going to be a lot less. And, hopefully you're not having to make 17 calls a day, but that is, some of the stuff. But now I know that I need to be making 17 calls a day based off of my history, based off of what I want to make. It may be too much, but I can then save that and return. Now, as I make my phone calls, as I do things with the software, it can be automatically doing some tallies for me for my calls. Each time I make a phone call, I can just manually say, well, bump it up. I left a message. I had a conversation, or the call list can do that for you. But as you are doing things, how many appointments did I have? How many listing agreements have I done? You can then use that to see where I'm at, this quarter, this year, what are my numbers and how am I staying on track? Mm-hmm. So, helps you with your business, keeping with your business. Now, the ultimate goal would be, hey, Sam, I called 5 people today. So add 5 to my, call attempts. And it would go through and maybe say, well, how many of those resulted in appointments? Oh, 1 of them did. And then it pumps in, another count. So the ultimate goal is to get away from doing data entry. The ultimate goal is to be having a conversation with your AI or AIs to be able to do all this stuff for you.
That's right. And when you do it right, as we move towards that goal, like you guys are traveling often, you're outside of the office, you don't get back to your CRM until the evening sometimes. And that's where those terrible 14-hour days, 6 days a week start coming into real estate. And so the ultimate goal is, let's get you guys into the field, working with people, building those relationships. Your technology should be helping you. It shouldn't have to be something that you're working in. Let's us be the technologists. You guys be great at real estate, and yet you can still chase down those goals, and you're able to identify them. And Mark said it earlier. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, right? And maybe you've got a team lead that you're accountable to. You can keep track of those. And if $500,000 is your goal, and you can see that you're starting to make progress, that's going to motivate you to stay on top of that. So that is kind of the system. Mark, do you want to swap back to the slideshow? I'll kind of take us on home. I do know that we are running a little bit behind on time. But hopefully you guys were able to have at least one, oh, that's how you use it moment. Now, a lot of the features that are inside the platform, you guys can always go back to that Workflow Secrets demo day, and you can see all of those different ones. But I really wanted to show you guys, and really Mark show you guys how it actually works.
You know, I started in this business because of Peggy Mitchell, and she was one of the top coal banker agents in Southwest Missouri area. And I said, Peggy, and I was actually helping, we were doing kind of one-on-one program. I said, Peggy, why are you willing to share all this information with me and, you know, do this? She goes, Mark, you got to understand, as a real estate agent, I spend all my time helping other people. I got into this business so that I could have my freedom, but ultimately it's tied me down a lot. She said, there was one night I came home expecting to find my daughter Amber in bed, and she went into the bedroom and Amber wasn't there. She went downstairs into the family room. Amber wasn't there. Her heart starts beating. You know, where in the world is Amber? She goes up into her own bedroom, Peggy's bedroom, and there she saw Amber's legs sticking out of the closet. And she goes down there, scoops her up real quick, and she says, Amber, are you okay? And she said, no, I'm just sleeping. She goes, Amber, you scared me to death. Why are you in my closet? She goes, I'm sorry, Mommy. I didn't mean to scare you. I came here to smell the perfume on your clothes because I missed you. And it was at that point, it's just like a dagger going through my heart. It's like, I can make a difference through automation, through you know, helping people set up systems. And I've spent all my life doing that. And this is our third iteration. Is it complete? No, but it is moving in a direction so quickly, so fast that you know, everybody is hearing the AI bandwagon, you know, getting on that AI bandwagon. And what we're doing is we're building it from the ground up and making the connections and facilities for you guys to be able to do stuff. So if you've got friends, family that you deal with, you can spend more time with them and not with your, spending all that time with at the office.
Yeah.
It becomes a real challenge. So it's been a personal thing for me, but that's what we're here for. So if there's any time you've got questions or whatever, certainly reach out. Be happy to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great way to wrap up. If there's no other questions, I suppose Cody at workflowsecrets.info or Mark at workflowsecrets.info. If you have any questions, and otherwise, we'll see you guys really soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.